on that piece of paper, real quick, on that piece of paper, this is what I want you to do. I want you, don't be looking at your neighbor's paper, especially if you're dating your neighbor. I want you to write down on this piece of paper, okay? Write down on this piece of paper 5 things, listen, 5 things that you look for in a boyfriend or girlfriend. At least 5. You can do more than that if you want. 5 things that you look for in a boyfriend or girlfriend. Write those down. Take some time for it. We'll come back to this in just a second, but I want to start tonight kind of giving you guys where we're going. Okay? We've been going through this dating series. I don't know if you've noticed, but this has only been a 3-week series, and it's taken us 7 weeks to get through, okay? Because we've only met 4 weeks in the last 7. One of those was we prepped for D Now. And so we are wrapping it up tonight and finishing out this dating series, and so I'm excited for that. But I hope that you've been able to see more just kind of biblically what it looks like. Right? Because scripturally, it doesn't talk about dating, right? It doesn't give us, hey, here's how you should date. Here's when you should date. It doesn't give us, the Bible doesn't specifically talk about dating. But it does talk about relationships. It talks about friendships. It talks about how we pursue the Lord and how we pursue others. And so that's what we've been going through. And tonight, we're going to continue on with that as we wrap up. And if you haven't been here for some of the weeks, if you want to go back and watch any of those, the first 2 are on our YouTube. I'll put this one up later, but they are on our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch them, you can go back and watch them. So tonight I want to start out with Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. I'm going to read this for you. We're going to come back to this here in a little bit. But this is what it says, right? Because we got to start with ourselves. And so Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. So again, right, if we are talking about dating, and we're talking about when are you ready to date, well, you got to start with yourself, right? We have to be running this race, running after Jesus, right? If you're going to have a relationship that is healthy and that lasts, and you want it to be based around a Christian perspective, right? If you believe in Jesus and you want your dating relationship to be based around Jesus, you have to be running after him yourself. If you don't, that's a whole different story we got to talk about, right? That's a whole different thing. And so if that's the case, then we're running after Jesus, right? We see that our relationship is with Jesus, the life that we live, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Right? We need endurance, and we are walking along with him, the founder and perfecter of our faith, is what it says. Right? Who by the way, he endured, it says he endured from sinners, such hostility against himself. He endured pain and shame and these things thrown at him and these lies said about him. And then he died on the cross for you and I so we could spend eternity with our Father in heaven. And so he's done that, and then we receive the Holy Spirit when we put our faith in him so that we can walk this life out with him. And so that's where we start for us tonight. So that's where we want to be. We want to be running after Jesus with all that we have. And that's where you have to get for yourself. You have to desire that and want that if you want to be dating the way as Christians we should date, and you want that relationship to be healthy. Right? So we're kind of going off that tonight, and where I'm gonna give you kind of our 3 points real quick, and then I'm gonna talk about really all 3 of them throughout the whole thing. I will mention them specifically here and there. But here's our 3 kind of main things that if we are going to date, right? If you're gonna date, you need to seek God. You seek God first and love him most. Right? We've talked about that every week so far that we've been here. So seek God first and love him most. And we talked about this a little bit 2 weeks ago. Set the right destination in your life and that relationship. And then the third one is stop being a consumer and look for a companion. Right? Or stop being a consumer and be a companion. Either way you want to put that. So that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. So those cards you wrote on, right? I don't know if you've ever done this. How many of you have a list you've written that you're like, okay, this is who I want to date. These are the things in the person I want to date or the person I want to marry. Who's done that before? Some of y'all? Okay, cool. So some of you have done this before. Some of you have not. I never actually wrote out a list. But I know I had a lot of friends in high school that did write out lists and they had those. But even though I didn't write one out, I always had one in my head. But I knew exactly what I needed in somebody else. Or I thought that I knew exactly what I needed or what I wanted in somebody else. And so I had this kind of list in my head. And then I would find the girl that I thought fit that mold until she didn't. Right? I found it, or I would find something that wasn't quite what I told myself she would be. And I had this list of things, some of them really good things, some of them just kind of materialistic things, but I had this list, even the good things, they could not meet every day. Right? And so if I leaned on that list or leaned on those thoughts that I had, eventually that person would not live up to that list. Right? And I had it of everything I thought I needed, everything I thought I wanted. And we often make these lists, right? You make these lists without even thinking about it, right? There will be somebody that you're thinking about dating. You're like, okay, they meet this, they meet that, they meet this. And then you're like, oh, but I don't know about this. And all of a sudden, there's some little detail that comes up and you're like, I don't know. And we make these lists without thinking about it. But here's the issue. Here's the issue with this is these lists that we make are crazy, right? And they don't really work. Right? Even if you have good things on that list, they don't necessarily work. Because when we write out a list, we start to think, okay, if I have this list, they have to always meet every single one of these things. And that's not going to happen. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why we need to not get rid of the list, but not let the list be the determining factor for how long that relationship goes, or is it not let the list be the end all be all on that. But why is this? Well, we can't just hang to a list because there's problems with creating a checklist and then expecting everything to fall into that list. These lists, they're unrealistic to expect that someone would meet every bullet point every day, every week, every month. Okay? Because here's the deal, when you compare your list to a real human being, it's not going to match up. Okay, I guarantee you the things that you listed out, on there, there's not a single person in this world that is going to meet every single one of those every month, every week, every day. Right? Because people are not perfect. And we live in this world where everything is geared around what we want. We're able to pick exactly what we want in just about every aspect of our life. Right? You set a playlist of music depending on what mood you're in. Right? You can watch this show or that show depending on how you feel, and you can watch it whenever you want to. Right? You pick what team you want to root for, and then if they do bad, you decide to root for another team. Most of the time, you can pick whatever you want to eat. Right? It's like, what do you want to eat? Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, let's go get it. You have these things. There's so many things like this, but you can't do that with another human being. Right? Another human being is not like us picking where we're going to eat or picking what music we listen to. It's not the same thing. Why? Why do you think this is not a good idea? Like to set these things and base all of this off of this. All of your ideas. Why? Why does it not work? Anybody? Yeah. You might get disappointed.
Maybe your mood would change.
Your mood might change. What else? Somebody said something like that. Right? Everybody's flawed. Right? Nobody's perfect. See, the issue is people have flaws. And we don't write flaws into our list. Right? I guarantee you nobody in here wrote, well, I want this person to not be good at this. Right? I want this person to be super respectful to me on Tuesdays, but not necessarily on Thursdays. Right? We don't write flaws into our list. And if they're not there, then our list is not, it's going to be disappointing. And I'll I'll tell you right now, most people who make these lists, especially they have them written out, people I've talked to, they get married and they go look at their list and they will laugh at how far off their list is from who they married. Or how far off their list is of, hey, I can't hold somebody to every single one of these things all the time. Right? And they will laugh at how far off they are. Because that list, it doesn't come close to describing that person that they've chosen to spend the rest of their life with. Right? And this doesn't mean they settled. Right? This doesn't mean that they settled or anything like that. It means that when they made that list, they didn't really know what they needed. It means that when they made that list, they didn't let God make the list for them. They made it themselves. And we often write out a list and we put materialistic things on there, or in our head, maybe it's not on our list, but in our head, it's like, oh, well, they're not strong enough. Well, they're really not as cute as this person. Right? They don't quite match up to this. Right? Or, oh, they don't make me laugh as much as my friend's boyfriend makes her laugh. But we compare these things. And so I want us to kind of talk through this and go to our first thing, which is actually the last one I said earlier, but this first idea of stop being a consumer and look for a companion. Okay, stop being a consumer and look for a companion. You see, the checklist we often make is out of this consumeristic mentality, right? We have these items on there, and again, I know a lot of you are in here. This is difficult to talk about because a lot of you probably put really, really good things on your list. Right? You probably put, many of you probably put, they love Jesus, right? They respect me. They make me feel loved. They care for me. Different things like this, all good things, right? And so I'm not saying you don't need to have a list or you shouldn't have a list of these good things. There are some absolutes that you should have, right? If you are a Christian and you are going to date with the mindset of honoring the Lord in that, then that other person needs to be a believer. They need to be running after Jesus with all that they have. They need to treat you well and respect you. There's some absolutes that need to be there. But often we get in this mindset of this consumeristic mindset, right? Because at our core, we're consumers. As human beings, we are consumers and we consume all kinds of things, right? We consume media, music, information, community, and on and on. All of these things, every day we're consuming. Right? And we want these things, and it's natural for us to consume things. But consumerism has no place in a dating relationship. Dating is not about going and shopping for that boyfriend or girlfriend that's going to satisfy you in this area or that area. Right? Dating is not about going and shopping for another boyfriend or girlfriend because the old one didn't satisfy this area of your life, and so you're going to find a new one to satisfy. Dating is not about having someone that's just going to do what you want. But too often we search for that boyfriend or girlfriend in order to receive something from them. Right? Whatever it is. Right? We want happiness. We want a friend. We want a listening ear. We want affection. We want the feeling of love. And so we go searching for it in some boy or some girl so we can feel better. Right? But this is the wrong motive for beginning a relationship. Right? Some of us are just like, I just want to date somebody because all of my friends are. Or it's just like, oh, well, they like me, so I might as well see how it works. That's not the reason. And the important thing to understand here is that we have to change our mentality, right? From consumer to companion. Because a consumer is looking for someone or something that exists for you. Okay, a consumer is looking for someone or something that exists for you. And as consumers, right, we purchase something or we take something based solely on what it can do for us and not what we can do for that item. Right? We go buy things and we go get things based off what they can do for us, not what we can do for them. And as a consumer, you're trying to get something that helps you to get to the next thing or the next place. But a companion looks for someone who goes along with you to your destination. A companion is the one that walks alongside you. Right? And I know a lot of times we think, well, companion is just like in marriage. But if you're dating, you should be dating looking towards marriage, right? We talked about that a few weeks ago. We don't date to just date. Right? We need to get rid of this idea that that we just need to date a bunch of people so we can figure out what we want in a spouse. No, we date people who we think could be a potential spouse. Even for you right now, and I know for some of you that's scary and that's a lot and that's heavy, but if you are going to date in a way that honors the Lord, then your mindset should not be going in, oh, well, I'm just going to go date this person to kind of figure out what I want. Because then you're just using that person to, again, get what you want. You're consuming what they can give you. Right? If our idea behind dating, like we talked about 2 weeks ago, is would dating this person help me glorify God? But that was our question 2 weeks ago. Would dating this person help me glorify God? Which, as Christians, this should be our thought. This should be what we are thinking is would this person help me with that? If we view dating as a search for a companion instead of something to consume, then you begin to shift your view from what does this boyfriend or girlfriend do for me, right? Away from selfishness, and you shift to, does this boyfriend or girlfriend enrich my journey to my destination as a companion? Do they enrich my journey of life in Jesus? Do they help me honor and glorify the Lord? And I'm not saying that means you're doing Bible studies with them. Right? Because I've talked to so many of y'all about this. The last thing you need to do when you're dating somebody right now is constantly be studying the Bible and talking about everything you're learning together. Right? You should be studying your Bible, and they should be studying their Bible, but you don't need to do it together all the time. You can talk about what you're learning, absolutely. But if you do it together, that creates this new bond, this deep bond that is, you may not be ready for yet. You guys, we shouldn't date for attention or to feel cared for or to feel important or to have someone to spend time with. You can find all of those things in friends, right? And you've already been given those things in God. He's already given you those things, and so we don't date for those things. But so often we get in this mindset, oh, I want to have somebody who I get to hang out with all the time. I want somebody who's going to make me feel important all the time. I want to have somebody who's going to make me laugh. I want this and I want that. Because that's not why we date. It shouldn't be. Because you can get all those things from friends. 2 weeks ago, we talked about setting this destination and arriving at our intended destination, right? We talked about, hey, if you are in a dating relationship or you begin one, you need to set boundaries. You need to set a destination of, hey, are we both pursuing Jesus? Are we both running after Jesus? And so again, continuing on that this week, and even from the first week we talked about it, is seek God first and love him most. If you are going to date, before you begin dating, you need to be seeking God first, and you need to love him most, and so does that other person. When we are moving towards a destination, and we are seeking, and when we are seeking God, because that's our goal. As Paul says in Colossians, that everything was created by God and also for God. So if we were created by God, and we were created for God, and we should be running after him always. And so if you are, right? If you are, and you're pursuing him, then what's going to happen is you're going to be running this race like it talks about in Hebrews, right? You're going to be running this race, and you're going to meet other people who are running that race with you. Right? You're going to be trucking along, and you're going to meet people who are running in that same direction, and they're going to become friends. Right? They're going to become these friends that you get to begin to open up to, and you get to share life with, and you get to live life with, because you're both running towards Jesus, and you have this relationship heading that way. There's also going to be those people who are not running in the same direction, right? Who you still care for, who you still love. But again, like we've talked about before, those are not the people who need to be investing in the majority of your life. You need people who are living the same way you are, wanting the same way you are, because you're always moving in a direction, right? You're always moving somewhere, and it's either towards Jesus or away from Jesus. Okay, you're always pursuing something in life. It's either Jesus or the things of this world, right? No matter what you do, and I think often we can buy into this lie of, oh, I'm just chilling, I'm just settled. I'm not really moving towards him. I'm not really moving away from him. If you're not moving towards him, you're not getting closer, right? And so here's the deal. We are always pursuing something. It's either Jesus or it's the things of this world. Right? So we talked about, right? We read Hebrews 12, 1 through 3 earlier. And it talks about running this race, pursuing Christ with all that we have, that we would have endurance and we would have patience and we would continue to seek him. And we seek him because we know what he's done for us. And we seek him because that is the first thing in our life. That should be the most important thing in our life, is our relationship with him. So if you are looking towards Jesus, and if you are pursuing him, and you're considering what he's done for you, then you're going to become surrounded by a community of, as this would say, runners, right? Of other believers who are running towards Jesus with you. And when that happens, you have this, and then you're gonna start running, right? Check this out. This is, you may not get it right now, but later in life, you're going to begin to understand this, is that you begin to run this race. When you pursue Jesus, right, you're running. We're running this race, and you begin looking around, and you begin seeing people that are running with you, right? And you keep running, and then all of a sudden, you kind of look to the side, and you're like, oh, she's cute, okay? Right? Like, God's still here. I'm still after Jesus. And you start to notice, like, man, hey, she's running with me. He's running with me. We're moving the same way. Hey, she's kind of cute. I like spending time with her. He's kind of cute. I like spending time with him. And so we're running this race, and we're moving, and our eyes are fixed on Jesus. But we begin to notice the people who are moving with us. Right? And we begin to notice this in these people that are also seeking Jesus. And then you begin to start being like, man, how awesome is it that when we get to serve Jesus together? How much fun is it when I get to see what God is doing in her life? I get to see what God is doing in his life. And so you're running this race together. Right? And this is going to happen with friends, right? It's first going to happen with friends, and then maybe you start to see that with somebody else, and it gets into a deeper relationship. That should be your goal. Your goal should be to run towards Jesus. And then when you find that person who is also running towards Jesus, that you're like, man, hey, I like spending time with them. They like spending time with me. We get along. Right? And these other things, these material things start to add up to that too. But ultimately, you're like, man, they love Jesus. So then you start running that race together. And here's a side note for a second is, well, we talk about this, and I think we have to talk about kind of breakups to focus on how do we keep pursuing Jesus, right? The most common terms, or not terms, but statements people say, I think, for you guys, when people break up, are, one of them is what? It's not you, it's me, right? People say that all the time, yes? You've heard people say that. Not to you, but you've heard somebody say that? Right? Okay. It's not you, it's me. Now, here's the deal. When someone says it's not you, it's me, we all know that means it's you. Right? Like, they're just trying to be nice. But here's the deal with that. If that has been said to you, or somebody says it's not you, it's me, it doesn't really mean it's you. What it means is that they've said, hey, I've decided that you don't have what I want anymore. Right? If someone is not mature enough to give you a real answer, that means, hey, I've decided you're not what I want anymore. I want something different. Right? And so if you use that line, it's not you, it's me, what that really means is you're saying, hey, you're not giving me what I want. And that's selfish. Right? And then the other one is, God told me I shouldn't date right now. Right? People say that. God says I shouldn't date right now. Right? Now, sometimes that's legit. But so often that's used because it's the easy way out, because how can you argue with God? Right? Somebody says, well, I just feel like the Lord doesn't want me to date right now. And somebody's like, are you sure? I feel like this, I feel like that. They're like, no, this is what the Lord said. And you're like, how do you argue with God, right? But as you get older, and as you mature in your faith, and as you have mature relationships, those reasons are not given. If it's a mature relationship, and it's a relationship where both people are trying to honor one another, you don't get that. Right? Most often, when I hear about like friends I have, or with college or adults, and people begin to break up, and it's like, okay, why did you break up? A lot of times people say, well, we went a different direction. We went a different direction. This again is not it's not the best term, right? Because if we're going to date as we should as Christians, what we talked about a few weeks ago and again tonight, set the right destination in your life and relationship. Right? This is the second thing for tonight. You can throw that up there for me. Set the right destination in your life and relationship. All right, we have to start with setting that destination. We are running towards God. We're wanting to daily grow closer to Him. If you date somebody who is chasing or pursuing something that you are not, then you're going in different directions. Right? It's not, these people say, well, we just went in different directions. Right? It's not that you ended up going in different directions. It's that from the very beginning, you were going different directions, and that was causing tension. Right? If someone is not pursuing Jesus with all that they have, and you are, you're not going in the same direction. Right? If you are wanting to read your Bible and go to church and spend time with Jesus and care for others, but the person you're dating is like, nope, I don't need to read my Bible. I want to do something else. I don't want to go to church. I want to do something else. I don't need to grow my relationship with Jesus because I'm good. They're not going the same direction as you. Right? And that's going to cause tension. And so from the beginning, you're going in different directions. Because we have to first run the race that He has set before us, that He has called us to. And then somebody might cross paths with you. You might start seeing somebody that's doing the same thing and you think they're kind of cute. Right? And so you begin talking to that person. Right? You get to know them. You get to know them and you're like, okay, this is good. They're pursuing Jesus like I am. Right? They're running after Him. So we're doing this. And then, right, you begin to talk about it and you're like, okay, this is good, this is good. They do talk to me and I talk back so we can actually have a conversation. They're running after Jesus. They love the Lord, blah, blah, blah. Then you throw out your best pickup line. Okay? Not really. Don't use pickup lines, please. Especially the ones we had, or the breakup lines. Don't use those either. Don't use pickup lines. Okay? Here's the deal. Guys, I'm gonna give you a tip. Listen, guys, I'm gonna give you a tip, a little secret. Girls could care less about your pickup lines. Okay? Listen, I'm telling you right now, they could care less about your pickup lines. Most of the time, they think they're dumb. Listen, most of the time they think they're dumb. Right? Sometimes you might get a pity date because it was so bad. Right? But that's not what you want. Here's the deal. If you will just listen, guys, I'm telling you right now, if there's a girl that you are interested in, and there's a girl you're like, man, we are walking the same line, and we enjoy getting along, and we enjoy spending time with one another, just go and say, hey, I like you, I want to get to know you better, can we go out to dinner? It's that simple, okay? She might say no, she might say yes, right? But the worst that can happen is she says no, and you're like, okay, great, thanks. But here's the deal. I think, listen, I think we put too much emphasis on like, oh, I have to do something important. I have to do this or I have to do that. Guys, it's really simple. Just let them know. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Right? If it doesn't work, that means, okay, hey, let's keep running that race. Let's keep running that race. And somebody else may come along at some point. We have to move away from consumer to companion. Okay, so often we're like, okay, that person would do this for me. That person would make me more popular. That person would make me laugh. That person would this, that person would that. And instead of that, we want a companion, someone who is going to help us glorify the Lord. And so how do we find the one? Right? This idea of the one, how do we find the one? I'm about to destroy all of your rom-com dreams, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Okay? Here's the short answer. Here's the short answer. How do you find the one? You can't and you won't. Okay? You can't and you won't. Right? Because here's the deal. It's a myth. It's a myth that movies and our culture has created, that God has created one and only one person for you in the entire world that you can find. And if you miss them, well, you're out of luck. Right? Or if they live in another country, you're out of luck. Right? He has not created just one person that you could spend the rest of your life with. You can't find the one because this idea is made up. It's made up. This is why, here's the deal. This idea came in and was able to be made up because, guys, I'm going to let girls in on a little secret. Some of us, right, I'm telling you, I do, we like rom-coms too, okay? Guys, don't deny it. Here's the deal. Look, this is why we like them. This is why we like them, because it's like, I want to be able to think, hey, this is possible, that all of a sudden this incredible, like crazy, wild story could happen, and that's how I'm going to find the person I marry. You guys, that is not the typical thing. Yeah, it might happen. Hey, stay locked in with me. That might happen here and there. But odds are that's not going to be your story. How did I know? So as you know, I'm getting married in a couple months, right? How did I know Haley was the one? It wasn't the first night we met, okay? Because the first night we met, she barely talked to me. And if you ask her, she would say she really didn't think she was interested. All right? Look, I'm past it. We're good. So it wasn't the first night. It wasn't 6 months in, because 6 months in, we broke up. Right? We broke up. We were broken up for about 8 or 9 months. And then we got back together. But it wasn't the first time we hung out together again after we broke up. Right? We had worked through personal things. And we started hanging out again and talking. And then we dated again. And it wasn't any of those times. It happened as we both pursued Jesus individually. It happened as we were pursuing Jesus and we realized that we wanted to walk through life together. We wanted to serve Jesus together. It happened as we continued to grow closer together, get to know each other. It happened because we chose each other. Right? Loving someone and even dating someone, it's not about the fact of, hey, well, they do this and they do this for me, they accomplish this, they meet this need, they meet that, they meet this idea. Eventually, when you start getting ready to get married, you are going to have to choose that person, right? You have to choose to love people. Right? Love is a choice. Whether it's with someone that you end up marrying or it's with family, you choose to love those people. So we chose that we were going to love each other every single day. Even when we're upset with each other, even when things are hard. That's how I knew. Because we both pursued Jesus. And he continued drawing us to him, and he continued drawing us together. And we continued seeing how much we wanted to serve the Lord together as one. And that's how I knew. You know, there's a pastor named Matt Chandler. Okay? He has a joke he kind of says about this idea of the one. He says that if God has uniquely created one person for you, then someone's already screwed it up. He said that someone either last year or a century ago married the wrong person, and so everybody else's one is messed up because they married the wrong person, so somebody else married the wrong person, somebody else married the wrong person, somebody else married the wrong person. And on and on and on. You guys, you won't find the one, right? Just that one person if you're looking for the one. You're not going to find it because if you prize this idea of finding the one over pursuing Jesus, you're going to be so distracted with everything else. If you prize that idea of finding the one, then you are going, you're going to miss the person that God puts in your life because you're not running after it. And if you are seeking this out, and you're seeking one person to fulfill every need that you have, you're going to be disappointed in every relationship you have. Because one person is not going to fill everything. Because they can't. Nobody can. Because that's what God does. St. Augustine, guy says this. He says, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they find rest in you." Psalm 25, 4 and 5, it says, "Make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." You guys, finding the right person. And here's the deal. This idea, I know this is a different direction and a different way I've ever gone about kind of doing a dating series. Right? Oftentimes we talk about things differently, but But this time we're talking about literally if you want to date the way that we should as Christians, and if you want to date to find that person to marry. Right? Now, if you are just like, man, I just want to date people because I want to date people and I want to have fun and this and that, that's a different story. And here's the deal, you're going to get your heart broken. I'll tell you right now, if you decide, I just want to date and I'm not going to listen to this, your heart's going to get broke. You're going to end up being sad. You're going to end up giving things away to someone that should be held on to for your future spouse. Because finding the right person means first going in the right direction. Finding the right person means first you are pursuing Jesus yourself. Submitting yourself to the Lord. And He's going to lead you. And He's going to teach you. And He's going to take you in the way that you should go. Because your better half is not found in a checklist. Your better half is not found in the fact that they checked off every single box for you. Because most people are going to check off all but, 3, 4 boxes, however, depending on how many boxes you got. But no one's going to check them all off. The way that you are ready to date, the way that you date well, the way that you date to honor Jesus, is that you first seek God first and love Him most. And then you and that person, you set the right destination in your life and in that relationship. And you stop being a consumer and you look for a companion. Because I could go on and on about dating and whether you should or shouldn't and all this stuff, but I'm already out of time. Michael, you'll go ahead and come up so I don't continue to ramble. But here's the deal. If I could, honestly, I would tell every single one of you to not date. Like, if I thought you would listen, I would say none of you should date until you're more mature. None of you should date until you know that you want Jesus and only Jesus. But I know that's not the case. And it's not the case because I didn't do it. Right? I wish I could go back and not date as many people as I did in high school and college. I wish I could. Right? Because there's parts of you that you give away, even if you're not having sex with somebody or you're not doing things you know you shouldn't do. You're giving parts of yourself away. And you get to that point where you want to get married. And it's hard because you're afraid you disappointed that person. You're afraid that you disappointed them because you made bad decisions in the past. And it sucks to walk through and get through. I'm telling you right now that if you want to get married one day and you want to find that person and you want to be able to look at them and say, hey, I love you and I care for you and you mean the world to me, and you want to say that and you want to give them everything that you are, then hold on to it. Stop giving things away because that's what your friends are doing. Stop giving things away because you think that's what's popular. Hold on to it because God gave it to you. And He gave it to you for one and only one other person. And it's important. So I challenge you guys to look towards Jesus. To run to Him first. And even if you haven't and you're not right now, decide to change now. Choose Him now. Because from this point on, then when you meet that person, then when you're ready to get married, you can say, hey, yeah, I messed up at one point, but from here until we met and we've decided this, I've kept myself for you, I've cared for you even before I knew you. And you can do that even in dating relationships, even if that one doesn't work out. You can date well. There's ways to do that, but you have to choose Jesus first. You have to treat the other person like they matter. And so I just hope that you guys will see this importance. the way that you live right now, the way that you even date right now, the way that you pursue relationships right now is important. Don't let somebody get into your life who doesn't care for you. Don't let somebody get into your life and begin dating that person who is not going to respect you and treat you well. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard because sometimes we just want to date somebody. But it's not worth it. Getting your heart broken, your heart stepped on is not worth being able to say, yeah, I'm dating this person. But choosing Jesus and giving everything to Jesus is worth it. And it will be in the end. Let's pray. Father God, I thank you. Father, I pray that you have spoken to hearts, and Lord, that you would continue to do that. You would continue to draw us to you, even in just my scatteredness, and there's so much that I want to say and so much I want to go and talk about. And Lord, Lord, you know my heart, and you know that I just wish that we could put everybody in their own bubble and protect everybody. Protect everybody's hearts. Lord, we know that you've given us the freedom to choose. You've given us the freedom to live our own lives. And so, Lord, I just pray that you would protect these students, or that you would draw them to you, or that through what we've talked about and through the things that I haven't even said, or that you would give them what they need, or that you would provide, or that you would help us to see how do we run after you with all that we have. Lord, eventually, at some point, Lord, as we are running after you, that if we are meant to have that person, and we are meant to have somebody, Lord, that you would bring them. Lord, ultimately, again, I pray that we would choose you first. We would seek you with all that we have. It's in your name I pray.